As SEC Media Days approaches, list season continues. These are my head coach rankings for SEC football heading into the 2025 season. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast or we get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. And as always, we are powered by our friends over at FANDUEL. Visit FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FANDUEL.com/SECU to get $250 in bonus bets today. SEC Media Days in Atlanta, Georgia is just a mere few days away. And with that being said, list season and talking season officially heats up. These are my SEC football head coach rankings entering next week's SEC Media Days as we pull up each of my selections. And we will start at number 16 with Mississippi State's Jeff Lebby. Jeff Lebby entering his second season on the job in Starkville. Year one, to say the least, guys, was very forgettable, and I will not be surprised if year two is not the same. There's not a ton to say about this one. I think 16 is the right place for Jeff Lebby. We'll see if he can dig himself out, but he is in one hell of a rebuild. Probably going to take at least 3 to 4 years to really get that thing going. The one thing I really questioned, keeping Coleman Hutzler as your defensive coordinator. Also, you bring Blake Shapen back as your quarterback. I think there maybe was some thought they might score Jackson Arnold in the transfer portal and did not. So we'll see. Can Mississippi State win a conference game this year? Can they dare sniff a bowl game? We'll see. But for now, dark days in Starkville. Jeff Lebby, number 16. At number 15, guys, I've got Kentucky's Mark Stoops. Guys, the Mark Stoops era, is Mark Stoops a better head coach than 15th? Potentially. But I thought last year was a really big indicator of where this program was and where the Stoops era was in Lexington. And obviously, I think we all left uninspired. I don't have a lot of high hopes that Kentucky is going to do much of anything this year or for the years to come. It kind of feels like we're trending back towards Kentucky being the Kentucky of old, the pre-Stoops Kentucky. Maybe I'll be wrong. They're leaning on another transfer portal quarterback in Zach Calzada. They're hoping to get the most out of him and bounce back and get back to a bowl game and maybe do more. But right now, guys, I just don't have a lot of high hopes and a lot of great things to say, honestly, about Mark Stoops. He's been trending downward for a few years now. It obviously came to a head last season in that horrific season they had. So Mark Stoops, Kentucky, 15 for me. At number 14, I've got Auburn's Hugh Freeze. Guys, I've essentially sold all my Hugh Freeze stock. I only put Hugh Freeze ahead of Mark Stoops because at least I feel like there's this little sliver of hope. I can't help myself but to have this little sliver of hope because of all the talent that they brought in, right? All the talent they brought in with Jackson Arnold at the quarterback position. Cam Coleman obviously returns. Eric Singleton, a fantastic wide receiver from Georgia Tech. There's so many pieces to work with on the offensive side and defensively as well. You should be salty there. DJ Durkin leading the way for the Tigers as the defensive coordinator. But guys, it goes so far beyond just the on-field product. Talking to folks that cover Auburn, some of the things they've had to say about him and the relationship that Hugh Freeze has with some folks in the building, with players specifically, let's just say it's not all that inspiring. So I think Auburn should have a good team this year. Auburn probably should win 8 or more games. I don't trust Hugh Freeze to get the most out of the talent. Hugh Freeze was a really good coach when the RPO was just rolled out, and that was a brand new thing. Guys, that was 10 years ago. I just don't think Hugh Freeze is truly that guy anymore. He's been living off of his past successes. Got nothing against him. Hope he does well. But I got Hugh Freeze 14th until I see otherwise down there on the plains. Number 13, guys, I got Arkansas Sam Pittman. This is another one where, here's the thing. At least with Pittman, with Hugh Freeze, everybody tries to make him out to be something that he's not, at least at Auburn. At least with Sam Pittman, you know what you're getting out of him, man. The boss hog, you know what you're getting, right? Very likable guy, offensive line minded, of course, a former offensive line coach, I should say. But, you kind of know what you're getting, and that's for better or for worse. And I think it's why Hogs fans weren't exactly thrilled when it was announced Sam Pittman would be coming back. Listen, Sam Pittman's probably a dead man walking when it comes to his potential of returning in 2026. Does he retire? Does he get fired? We'll see. The Boss Hog still got a few tricks up his sleeve, but I think this is more than likely his last season in Fayetteville, and he's 13th for me in my head coach rankings. Number 12, guys, I got Oklahoma's Brent Venables. I don't know what to make of Brent Venables in the SEC. He's had one good season. That came in the Big 12, the season before you started out in the SEC. I just, defensive-minded guy, the opposite of Lincoln Riley, as we all know. What can you do offensively? Seth Luttrell was the problem last year. If Ben Arbuckle doesn't work this year, well, it can't be two bad OCs in a row, right? And we got to remember, Brent Venables is the guy that appointed Seth Luttrell to be in that position in the first place. So I am a little bit concerned when it comes to Brent Venables. Is he the guy for Oklahoma to win and win at the level that OU wants to win at? That's my big question. Again, defensively they're going to be salty, but he kind of reminds me of sort of like a Will Muschamp-esque head coach. Very, very intense kind of guy, defensive-minded. Is the offense ever going to catch up? And guess what? The schedule is a gauntlet again for the Sooners. But this is a program that expects to win. They got to win big. We'll see. It's essentially, and with Joe Castiglione announcing he's going to retire, how does that affect Brent Venables' job security? No, by the way, got the huge, huge extension last year. So Sooners in an interesting spot. I got to see more from Brent Venables before I rank him higher. Number 11, guys, I got Vanderbilt's Clark Lee. What Clark Lee did last year, wildly impressive with that roster, with that team. This is a guy, guys, we were talking about being on the hot seat going into last season. Now, feels like he's living in the penthouse. You got Diego Pavia back, Eli Stowers. I think sights are set are improving on last year's win total, 6 in the regular season, 7 with the bowl win. It was a great season here in Nashville. I think you look at Clark Lee, what he did. I give a lot of credit for him being able to take a situation that was down in the dumps, go out and completely revamp the roster, go get Diego Pavia, take over the play calling duties defensively, and you saw the results. So Clark Lee, for me, job well done in 2024. Will he build off it in 2025? We'll see, but I got him 11th going into media days. At 10th, I got Florida's Billy Napier. This is a really interesting year for Billy Napier because I'm kind of conflicted. It was a great season last year by Florida, right? And I think you got to give Billy a lot of credit for getting DJ Lagway to campus and coaching him up and getting him ready to take over and play the way he did last year. I don't know that last season totally convinces me, though, that he's some great head coach now. I don't know that it totally convinces me that some of the shortcomings he had in his first 2 seasons in Gainesville are going to be completely gone, right? I still question play calling a little bit. I still question game management and some situational awareness. Those are still things I'm a little worried about. Billy Napier has a good year this year. Gators have a good year. We see them put it together again. I'm going to feel really, really good about Billy. But right now, I'm cautiously optimistic at what Billy Napier can be in this conference in regards to some of the best head coaches. But again, guys, you ask Florida fans, he's essentially on the hot seat again going into this season. So Billy Napier for me, number 10, could easily move up this year, but I need to see it back-to-back seasons. I need to see them deliver on the talent they have on the roster because they sure do have a lot of it. At number 9, I got Texas A&M's Mike Elko. So here's the thing, guys. A lot of folks were critical of Mike Elko after year 1 because you start out 7-1, you finish the year 8-4, you lose the bowl game. I totally get it. But I said going into last year, I thought 8-4 would be a massive success for Mike Elko and the Texas A&M program in year 1. People take for granted how much a year 1 coach has to do in regards to changing the culture, switching out the roster, the recruitment, the portal stuff, like trying to change a program and put it in his image. There was still a lot of Jimbo stink left over in that program last year. I give Mike Elko a lot of credit. I thought he did a fantastic job. Again, I think the expectations got overinflated when they started 7-1, but an 8-4 campaign in year 1, I don't think is anything to turn your nose up at. Now, again, offensively, they got to get it going. Marcel Reed's got to take the next step. They shouldn't have as much chaos at the quarterback position like they had a season ago, which should help them. Defensively, under Mike Elko, I think they're going to be salty every single year, and you got a guy like Torian York in the middle leading you. I think you can expect that yet again. Tons of talent in the trenches. Offensive line should be fantastic. Two-headed monster at running back. A&M should be a high-quality team. This is a big year. And I know it's only year 2, but this is a big year for Mike Elko because the last thing anybody wants is to have a head coach who does not live up to the expectations with the talent available, and A&M certainly has plenty of it. So Mike Elko, still high on what he can be there in the future. Number 9 right now for the Aggies head coach. Guys, before we go any further, I do want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel because, as always, we're brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Guys, football season is on the horizon. It's not too late to play ball on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. It's the best place to get all of your college football gambling action and everything else, by the way, that's going on. From touchdowns to interceptions to wins to losses, totals, spreads, whatever it might be, they've got everything you need to get going and get all your wagers placed. FanDuel has got a deep bench and a deep lineup of everything. Everything you need, everything you want. Either way, don't get caught sleeping on this thing. Make sure you join today. New customers get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today. That's FanDuel.com/SECU for your chance to score $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more. FanDuel, official partners of SEC Unfiltered and college football. Guys, let's keep it moving. At number 8, I've got South Carolina's Shane Beamer. Fantastic season last year. Great season. Again, you go 9-3, knocking on the door of the college football playoff. To start 3-3 and go win 6 down the stretch, including beating your arch rival in the Clemson Tigers. You cannot say enough things, good things, I should say, about what the Gamecocks head coach did. He's one of those guys, obviously very charismatic, very positive. He wins the press conference, or at least makes a lasting impression in the press conference every single time. The promotion of Mike Shula as offensive coordinator going to be really interesting, right? Dabble Loggins goes to Appalachian State. Mike Shula now comes in as the OC. How does that play in? How do you grade that hire? Was that a lazy hire? Was it the right move? Only time will tell. And we'll see if South Carolina, here's the biggest thing. How do they follow up that 9-3? I think they've actually done a really good job of recruiting in the trenches, which has given South Carolina a lot of problems in years past. Give Shane Beamer and his entire staff credit. And he's got an infectious belief and, a positivity around that program and what that program can be, not what it's always been. That being said, a 9-3 last year doesn't erase the 5-7 you had in 2023. And that's honestly one of the things, guys, I look at is it kind of scares you off the Gamecocks a little bit going in 2025 with all this hype outside of just even the fact of who they lost. Shane Beamer's a really solid coach. He's a great fit for South Carolina. Is he creeping closer to being a great head coach? I think this season is really big in that regard. I've got a number 8 right now. Number 7, I've got Missouri's Eli Drinkwitz. Guys, very quietly, which, why is it so quiet? Well, it's just because Mizzou is always overlooked for whatever reason. Eli Drinkwitz has led Missouri to back-to-back 10-win seasons, including a New Year's Day Bowl win over Ohio State 2 years ago. And last year, beat Iowa, I believe it was, in that bowl game. I mean, Eli Drinkwitz is the epitome of a guy that does not get enough credit for what he has done at his respective school. This year is going to be telling. They obviously go to the portal. Bo Prabula, the transfer quarterback from Penn State. Is he the right answer? We shall see. But love what Eli Drinkwitz has done in Como. Again, he's made Mizzou not even a sneaky contender, but a contender year in, year out. Obviously had that slow start to his tenure there. Back-to-back seasons of 10 wins. Can he make it 3? It's going to be tough. Feels like a little bit more of a rebuild this year than it has been in years past. But game got to respect game. Eli Drinkwitz has been fantastic in Como, especially for a program that I think there are challenges in place that not every SEC school has. You could argue really tough to win at, and he's done a fantastic job at that. At number 6, and here's where the real pushback begins. I've got Kalen DeBoer, Alabama Crimson Tide head coach. The biggest thing with DeBoer is this. I know he's coached in a national championship, guys. I get that. That was at Washington, right? I understand that. We saw things last year with a Kalen DeBoer Alabama that were concerning. Just flat out. losing at Vanderbilt, losing inexplicably at Oklahoma, and getting your teeth kicked in. I think the big question is this. And again, a year one head coach, right? A year one head coach. There's a lot of moving pieces there. It was year one. I think you can write it off in some ways and say it was year one. I think we're going to find out this season how much of it was year one and there's a lot of new pieces and you kind of had to stick with Jalen Milroe to keep the roster and keep the team together and keep the buy-in? Or are there fundamentally some things wrong? Are there fundamentally things wrong with Kane Womack's defense, by the way, that was very, very, not even leaky. It just wasn't good at times. It got gassed at times. This is a team that should be college football playoff or bust. This Alabama roster should be in the college football playoff. And if they're not, that's going to fall on one guy. And I think that's Kalen DeBoer. It's on him to get the most out of Ty Simpson. It's a guy that everybody's been ranting and raving. It's an upgrade from Jalen Milroe. He's a better fit for your system. Kalen DeBoer's a good coach. He's a good coach. Hasn't won anything of significance in the SEC. I want to see him do it in this conference. That's it. That's it. Because this is you better bring your lunch pail week in, week out conference. And here's what can't happen in Tuscaloosa. Here's what can't happen for DeBoer. You can't show up and play like shit against these small teams. Like you just can't do it. You cannot show up and play the way they did in some ways, in some weeks. You cannot do that, right? And talking to Bama faithful, again, you missed the college football playoff again. I'm not saying he's fired, but it is going to be some very uncomfortable conversations happening at this season's end, I can assure you. At number 5, I got LSU's Brian Kelly. Now, this is one that always sparks a lot of debate, a lot of heat. What has Brian Kelly done? Guys, I get it. He has not won the big game. I totally understand. He has beaten Alabama and gone to an SEC championship, won the SEC West. He has produced a Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, I know that's not a team award, whatever, but he did do that. He also won a ton of games back at Notre Dame. We can't forget that happened. So I think Brian Kelly, but why is he ahead of Kalen DeBoer? I think he's right now done a little bit more than Kalen DeBoer has. Now, this year is obviously going to shape this for both these coaches because both these coaches, I think, are in playoff or bust mode. And by the way, they play each other. And Kalen DeBoer got the better of Brian Kelly last year, and it wasn't even particularly close in that game. And I'm not saying I love all the things Brian Kelly does, but I do think he's a top 5 head coach in this league. I do. I understand. He's held to a much higher standard than many others on this list because LSU love him to death. They're absolutely crazy, and the expectations and the desire to win there is higher than a lot of places in college football. It is a pressure cooker, and they'd have it no other way. But I think Brian Kelly is a top 5 head coach in this league. I put him at number 5. At number 4, guys, I got Tennessee's Josh Heupel. I'm a big Josh Heupel guy, big believer in Josh Heupel. I love what Josh Heupel has done at Tennessee. Really curious to how he responds to the Nico Iamaleava situation. I love the way he responded to it by telling him to kick rocks, by the way, and go to UCLA. What that means for this team this year is going to be really interesting. By the way, I will give credit. Josh Heupel's got something Brian Kelly does not. Josh Heupel's got something Kalen DeBoer does not. That's a college football playoff appearance. And I understand what happened. They got their teeth kicked in by Ohio State. Granted, Ohio State won the national title, but he does have that, right? He does have that. The other guys I mentioned, they don't have that. So I'm a big Josh Heupel guy. I think still an innovator on the offensive side. This is a big season for him from the standpoint of putting out a productive and potent offense because a lot of folks want to look and say, hey, was it more Alex Golesh than it was Josh Heupel? That's been kind of one of the themes floating around, one of the narratives that I don't know that I believe been floating around out there. Big year on Rocky Top, but I think what he's done, I think we take it for granted. We sometimes forget what he inherited there and now where he's gotten it. I don't think we give enough credit, guys. I really don't think we give enough credit to that. So I got Josh Heupel, number 4. Number 3, I got Ole Miss's Lane Kiffin. I think Lane, one of the masterminds in all of college ball. He's in a perfect scenario, by the way. Perfect situation. He runs the city of Oxford. I mean, it works out so well for him. But, I mean, when you think about the impact of Lane Kiffin, I mean, he has taken Ole Miss football, not that they were insignificant, but he's put them on the national map. Like he's made Ole Miss a big-time talking point year in and year out, right? And you see this last year, and I understand a lot of people are going to come at Lane. And I think the criticism is fair. You had a loaded roster last season. and you miss the college football playoff. Somehow, some way, you miss the college football playoff. I mean, that loss to Kentucky will forever live down. Maybe the worst loss in Ole Miss history, to think about what it cost you a chance at, right? You win the bowl game, yes. You win double-digit games. I mean, that's awesome. It's great to talk about. It feels good, but you fall short of the ultimate prize last year. So I get that, but when I'm ranking coaches, guys, one of the things that I factor in is just pure off of gut, which coach would I most want? Lane Kiffin is at minimum, third on that list, depending where and what situation and where I'm talking about. So Lane Kiffin, to me, offensive mastermind. He's got one of the best DCs in Pete Golding, a schemer on the defensive side. Love what Lane Kiffin brings on a week-in, week-out basis. Big year for Hotty Toddy. And I think a year in which maybe not having all the last dance pressure could help them, but certainly, again, I think one of the best coaches in college football. I think one of the most impactful, one of the most high-impact coaches in college football. Guys, at number 2, I got Texas's Steve Sarkisian. Guys, he's led Texas to back-to-back college football playoffs and back-to-back Final Four appearances. Nobody else in college football has done that. Also, again, you look at what he took over at Texas. They were a mess. He's talked about it many times. They were a complete shit show. And now you look at them, the way they've built this roster on the offensive and defensive lines. They're going to be primed yet again to make a run at the college football playoff. Arch Manning era obviously beginning. Steve Sarkisian, what he does from an offensive mastermind perspective, but what he's done from a roster building perspective, I think is so impressive. And the position he's put Texas in, especially coming in the SEC last year, you take them to the SEC championship. Yes, you run into the buzzsaw that is Georgia, but you go back to the playoff and you get back to the Final Four, back-to-back seasons, the only team to do so in college ball. The last thing you got to achieve, that last infinity stone, is a national title. Maybe it comes this year. We'll see. And with that being said, guys, at number 1, still the creme de la creme when it comes to the SEC head coaches, I got Georgia's Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart is the guy above anyone else I would take if I could pick my head coach and start a program in this conference. I'm going Kirby Smart. Still just there is no one in college football that does a better job of getting their team ready for the big moments and getting their team ready to play on a big stage and building this chip on the shoulder within his football team than Kirby Smart. I mean, Kirby Smart's guys, they all want to run through a brick wall for him. And he won't play them unless they want to. Like, he ain't going to play a guy unless he loves football and he loves Georgia. And he's done such a fantastic job, obviously, with that program, guys. Back-to-back national championships. You win the SEC title last year in what people were calling a quote-unquote down year. There's a lot of debate past 1, but for me, there is no debate when it comes to number 1 and the best head coach, and not just the SEC, but all of college football. It is Kirby Smart. And he proves that on a week-in, week-out basis. Proved it last season yet again, and I won't be surprised if and when he proves it yet again this season. Nobody's got the relentless will to win like Kirby Smart does in the game. That's infectious. It spreads throughout his team, and they play that way on a week-in, week-out basis. And again, nobody is more well-prepared than Kirby Smart's football team is every single time out. So Kirby Smart, for me, number 1, guys. That's going to do all for me. Would love to hear your thoughts. How would you rank the head coaches of the SEC? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? How would you rank them going into SEC Media Days and the 2025 college football season? Guys, that's going to do all for me. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast where you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. Till next time, I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we will catch you on the other side.